Hey guys. Happy Friday. Good afternoon. It's great to see so many friendly faces in here. Not that that's different than normal. I'm obviously referring to the children around the room. We're really excited and very glad to welcome the kids of the press corps to the White House today. They're going to love trick-or-treating in the executive office building, and I look forward to taking some questions, maybe even from some of the kids today. A couple of quick things to note before we get into that. As you all saw yesterday was an important moment for our nation's fight against the drug addiction and opioid epidemic that has hurt so many wonderful families. By directing the declaration of a nationwide public health emergency to address the opioids crisis, the president is mobilizing his entire administration to confront this issue. The president's stirring remarks yesterday, which included a powerful story of how addiction impacted his family, set the stage for the country to unite behind this fight to save lives. In the wake of the announcement, several cabinet members and agency heads are traveling around the country to events related to the opioid crisis. Among those participating in events are Attorney General Sessions, Secretaries Shulkin and Carson, Acting Secretary Hargan, Surgeon General Adams, and Acting ICE Director Homan. These events illustrate that the president truly has made this issue an administration-wide priority. On the economic front, the U.S. economy grew at 3% for the second quarter in a row, despite the damage from this year's hurricane season. Unemployment is at a 16-year low, the stock market continues to climb to record levels, and economic confidence is soaring. The engine of the American economy is revving up, and the president is ready to pour in the rocket fuel through massive tax cuts and reforms. It's fitting that we have some kids with us here today because ultimately this tax plan is about empowering hardworking American families to build a better life for themselves and a brighter future for their children. And with that, I will take your questions.
So I want to ask you about the $300 million contract that Whitefish Energy got to do rebuild the electrical grid in Puerto Rico. Does the White House have any concerns about the way this contract came down and the fact that this company has apparently no experience of doing anything on this magnitude?
This is a contract that was determined by the local authorities in Puerto Rico, not something that the federal government played a role in, but as we understand, there's an ongoing audit, and we'll look forward to seeing the results of that later.
Is there red flags raised by this? And can you say definitively that the fact that the primary, one of the primary investors in this company was a major donor to the Trump campaign, had nothing to do with the fact this contract was awarded?
Right. The federal government, as I said, has nothing to do with this contract or the process. This was something solely determined by the Puerto Rican government. And as I said, we'll look forward to the audit to see if there are any other issues beyond that. Matthew.
Thanks, Sarah. A question on those Russia sanctions that the president signed in August. So the recipients of those sanctions were supposed to be named on October 1st, and that just came out today. I'm wondering if you can explain the delay and how soon the administration will actually act to implement those sanctions.
Right. There was an interagency review that's now been completed. That was the cause for the delay. The guidance was issued by the State Department, and that's now being carried out. And for any further details, I'd refer you to the State Department. John.
May I kindly request too? The President tweeted out this morning regarding the Russia investigation, quote, "After months of costly looking." Is the president suggesting that the Mueller special investigation is a waste of money?
I think that the president's been pretty clear what his position throughout this process. That's not the only investigation that's taken place. Congress has spent a great deal of time on this, a better part of a year. All of your news organizations have actually spent probably a lot of money on this as well, which we would consider probably a pretty big waste. I think that our position hasn't changed since day one, and I think we are seeing now that if there was any collusion with Russia, it was between the DNC and the Clintons, and certainly not our campaign.
Question number two.
Sorry, I'm going to move around. We're going to be on
this
tight
is
time
this is an
today.
important one, a 401ks.
Well, then maybe one of your colleagues will ask it. Zeke, go ahead.
Begging for two here also. First, if you have any comment on the situation in Catalonia and Spain more broadly, that the State Department put out a pretty sharp statement saying the United States sort of wants a unified Spain. Would you echo that from the podium? Has the president made any phone calls on that?
I'm not aware of any phone calls today, but we certainly echo the State Department and again reiterate our support for a unified Spain.
And Sarah, was one
Jordan,
more.
sorry guys, I'm going to jump around to.
Thanks, Sarah.
try
On
to cover
Whitefish
everything.
Energy, the president met this morning with Interior Secretary Zinke. He's from the town where that company is based. The president asked him directly whether he had any knowledge of this deal.
The primary purpose for this meeting that has been on the schedule for several weeks was to discuss the Secretary's monuments report that'll be coming out shortly, and that was the reason for the meeting. But he did ask Secretary Zinke just for clarification purposes, and he reiterated once again that we have no role, the federal government, and specifically he had no role in that contract. John.
Thanks a lot, Sarah. On Whitefish Energy, another question on this company. Prior to Hurricane Maria, it just had 2 employees. And then after Hurricane Maria, it's awarded a $300 million plus contract. I realize that you said this was a contract that was awarded by officials in Puerto Rico, but would you acknowledge that doesn't look right just on the surface of things?
Look, I'm not going to comment before the audit is conducted, but we certainly look forward to seeing the results of that. And once again, this was a state and local decision made by the Puerto Rican authorities and not the federal government, but we will look into the audit once it's published.
The president has said there's a lot of corruption in Puerto Rico. Would you think that this falls under that umbrella of corruption?
Once again, I'm not
perhaps?
going to get ahead of the audit, but once we have that, we'll make a determination.
You mentioned the opioid crisis at the beginning of your remarks and how the president yesterday declared it a national public health emergency. That declaration did not come with a request for money from Congress. How much does the president want Congress to put towards this crisis, and when will he put in a formal request for that money?
Well, there was $45 billion that was originally in the health care plan that the president supported that no Democrat in the country supported. So ideally, that would have been done through that. But since it wasn't, we're hoping that Congress will come together and there will be a lot of bipartisan support to put behind the opioid crisis and joining the president in dealing with this effort. Major.
Sarah, can we say then, therefore, based on your answer just now, that $45 billion is what you would like to see as an initial approach to the opioid crisis and done during the budget deal that you hope to negotiate in December?
I'm not going to negotiate with you from the podium, but that was the number that we outlined in that initial health care bill. There's $1 billion that's been spent to date since the president came into office. We do feel like that $45 billion would have been a good number that was in the health care bill. That was what we supported. We're going to continue looking at that and determine future numbers as we work on negotiating the next
Is that a
budget.
good place to start with Congress, though? Is that a good place to start with Congress?
In the meeting that the president had with Secretary Zinke, did he agree with the recommendation to shrink the size of Bears Ears National Monument in Utah?
I'm not going to get ahead of the president's announcement on the specifics of that, but I can tell you that he will be going to Utah in the first part of early December, and we'll release more details at that point, if not some before. He also spoke with both Senators Hatch and Lee during the course of that meeting.
Thanks, Sarah. Obviously, sexual harassment has been in the news. At least 16 women accused the president of sexually harassing them throughout the course of the campaign. Last week, during a press conference in the Rose Garden, the president called these accusations fake news. Is the official White House position that all of these women are lying?
Yeah, we've been clear on that from the beginning, and the president's spoken on it. John?
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. Last weekend, former President Jimmy Carter offered his availability as a go-between to the North Korean regime in the hopes of resolving the differences between this country and Pyongyang. He has a history with the family of the current leader in North Korea, meeting with his grandfather in 1994. Is the administration in contact with President Carter, and does it have any plans to use him as a go-between or an envoy to Pyongyang?
I don't think that's part of our process at this time. If that changes, we'll certainly let you know. But that's not part of our current plan or thinking for how to deal with North Korea. Blake?
Sarah, thanks. I'll ask the 401k question.
See, you got friends helping me out.
Helping my colleague.
And you didn't think anybody here liked you, John.
I've got John's back. Is the president considering dropping the amount of pre-tax contributions that Americans can put into their 401k? Currently, that's at about $18,000. It seems as if this whole issue is up for negotiation. Does the president support taking that $18,000 or so level and potentially lowering that?
As I said earlier this week, the president wants to continue to fight and push for protection of Americans' retirement, and that hasn't changed, but I'm not going to negotiate any deals beyond that, but that's the president's position, and that's the same today as it was earlier this week.
Thanks, Sarah. There's been a number of politicians over the past week, including Chris Christie here at the White House yesterday, who have said that Rob Mueller should step aside from certain investigations within the special counsel. Does the president share those views?
The president wants to see this completed. We think that we are continuing to see day in, day out as this investigation moves to completion, that as the same as it started, there's still no evidence of collusion between the president and anyone. If any collusion took place, it would be between the DNC and the Clintons. And I think we're starting to now see that all of the things that the Democrats had accused this president of doing, they were actually guilty of themselves. And I think that's a really big problem that should be certainly looked at.
Sarah, the lawmakers in Egypt are preparing a measure that would criminalize homosexuality with up to 5 years in prison. Will you condemn the measure?
I'm not aware of the specifics of that, so I'd have to look into that before I could make a response, but we'll certainly be happy to check into it. So,
thank you, Sarah. At the risk of wasting my question, I'm going to ask you about the Fed. Since the last time you were up here, there have been a couple of reports. One, that the president's going to make an announcement next week. Can you confirm that he's going to make an announcement, and if so, give us a little timing? And then secondly, there have been reports that Chairman Yellen is out of the running and that Jerome Powell is at the top of the list. Can you confirm any of that?
I can confirm that the president plans to make an announcement on that next week, but beyond that, I don't have any other details to add. No.
Yeah. I want to ask you about a comment that Sebastian Gorka made on Fox News. I know that he doesn't work for the White House anymore, but he claims to be very still involved in knowing what's going on here. He was talking about the Uranium One deal and Hillary Clinton and said, if this had happened in the 1950s, there would be people up on treason charges right now. This is the equivalent to what the Rosenbergs did, and those people got the chair. Think about it. Does the president agree with that statement?
I hadn't even seen those comments. I'm not going to comment on Sebastian Gorka or validate that. I can tell you that we do think that there's a lot of cause for concern regarding that deal, and we certainly think it should be looked into, but I can't comment beyond that on somebody outside the administration's comments. Jessica.
Question on the president's upcoming Asia trip. Can you talk a little bit more about the criteria that you used to decide which of the many multilateral meetings that he attended? And can you confirm that he's not going to be at the East Asia Summit and why?
He is participating in, I know, at least the opening ceremony and some of the other parts of that event. In terms of the specifics, we're going to do a full and more detailed briefing on that next week. And so I'll wait till we get to next week because the final details of some of those things are still being worked out. Olivia?
Thanks, Sarah. The president said on Twitter that he congratulated Chinese President Xi on his extraordinary elevation. Does the president have any misgivings, either the way that elevation occurred or its potential impact on American interests in Asia?
Not that I'm aware of. No.
I was wondering, why did the president involve himself in the Uranium One investigation? Are you trying to gin up your own Russia investigation to rival the one up on Capitol Hill? And where is the president's evidence that Hillary Clinton colluded with the Russians, as he tweeted this morning?
In terms of the president being involved, I'm not aware of any specific involvement. The president has pushed for transparency, if that's what you're referring to when dealing with Congress. I know that's probably something new for a president to actually push for transparency, but that's what he's done, and that was the purpose of what he was trying to do in that process.
How about evidence of collusion that Hillary, Sarah, no, the president made a charge that Hillary Clinton
I think I've addressed that pretty thoroughly. Mike, go ahead.
So you're saying that Hillary Clinton
I'm saying that I'm
collude
calling
with the
on your
Russians?
colleague.
Okay, well, you didn't really address that question.
The PAC affiliated with Majority Leader, Senate Majority Leader is attacking Steve Bannon. If the White House has an opinion on that, is Mr. Bannon fair game? Is he still viewed as helpful to the president's cause? And has the president had any success talking Steve out of some of the backing him off some of the incumbents, as he suggested in the Rose Garden?
In terms of how a PAC spends their money, I would direct you to them. I'm not going to answer for them any more than I can even answer for the president's PAC, as we don't comment on political situations or contributions from the podium.
Sarah.
Deb.
Hi. Sunday, it's going to be the 1-month anniversary of the Las Vegas shooting, 4 weeks. The shooter enhanced the speed of his fire by using bump stocks. At first, you didn't want to comment on that, but I'm curious to know, does the president think the ATF should prohibit their sale? Is he going to ask them to? Does he think only Congress can do it? Or does he think that bump stocks are not the problem and that there's no need?
He has asked that process be reviewed, and we're waiting on some of the details of that to take place, but a decision hasn't been finalized on that. But we are looking at that and certainly under review. I'm going to cut us a little bit short today, and I have one last announcement that I wanted to make. The president asked me to let all of you know, those of you that have your kids here for trick-or-treating, before they go over to the executive office building for trick-or-treating, he's invited them to come into the Oval. So if you would like to have your kids participate, please meet us here, and we'll walk them over shortly, and then give them back to you so that you can sugar them up and take them home to your house to run wild. Thanks so much, and have a good Friday.
That was the Sarah Sanders White House press briefing, and this is the White House press briefing post show here at Right Side Broadcasting. I am Steve Lookner. We're going to talk about the press briefing and get your comments on the press briefing and read them on the air. So if you have any comments about the briefing, what'd you think about it? Give me a shout on Twitter. I am at Lookner, at Lookner. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you to the moderators in the chat room, both on YouTube and the website. And if you enjoy our coverage here at Right Side Broadcasting, we always have a post show for the press briefing. We show the entire press briefing, unlike some channels. And when President Trump speaks, we show the entire event. We just like giving you guys the news, all the news, and not cutting it off and talking over it or not showing it. So if you like that kind of coverage, please consider donating, because we rely on your donations to stay on the air. If you'd like to donate, you can go to the bottom of the YouTube chat and click on the little dollar sign at the bottom of the YouTube chat, or go to rsbn.tv/donate. That is rsbn.tv/donate. Okay, so let's talk about the briefing. I wanted to say that one thing I noticed in the briefing that stood out to me was there were a few questions about this whole whitefish company that was hired in Puerto Rico. I had tweeted about that a couple days ago, and there's been some reporting about it, but it's gotten a little more press lately. And for those of you who don't know, there's a bit of an uproar because this very small, when Puerto Rico was looking to fix their electrical issues after the hurricane, they initially hired a very small company from Montana called Whitefish, which at the time they hired them, according to The Economist, only had 2 full-time employees and a single-page website, and didn't really seem to be experienced in this kind of large-scale operation. And that was done by their local government. And I have tweeted an article, I know I tweeted at least one article about how weird the situation that was. If you want to see that, go to my Twitter feed, go back a couple days. But some questions came up then because it turned out that this company was from the same hometown as Ryan Zinke. So there's been some speculation, was Ryan Zinke the one who got Puerto Rico to hire this company with very few employees to go take on this task in Puerto Rico? And some have also wondered, is part of the reason the electrical fixing the electric is going so slowly in Puerto Rico, is part of that due to this company being hired that didn't really have experience with this. So there were several questions asked about that today, and what Sarah Sanders said is, she said that the federal government had nothing to do, she said, with Puerto Rico hiring this company. That's also something I've seen in the reporting too. The reporting I've seen says that this was an internal decision made by Puerto Rico. Now, I think there are legitimate questions to be asked why Puerto Rico hired this company. In the article I posted, I think it was an AP article on my Twitter feed, the account they gave of this hiring process made the hiring process seem not like the most well thought out process. It was almost like this kind of thing. It was like, well, they were the only people's number we had who responded to our offer, and it just, if you read through the article, you can see that it doesn't look like the greatest hiring process. But anyways, Sarah Sanders said, look, we were not, the federal government, a part of that process. That's something that Puerto Rico chose to do. They chose to hire this company. And furthermore, and also remember that the articles I've seen have said that, like, usually when this kind of event happens, the place where it happens, their local government there will consult with like this big group, which is always consulted. It's like some industry group, and they consult with the industry group and they get advice, I guess, on how to fix stuff. But this industry group wasn't even consulted with. So very odd situation with hiring this company. But Sarah Sanders again said it wasn't the federal government. We didn't hire this company. And then she was asked, when Ryan Zinke met with President Trump today, did President Trump ask Ryan Zinke if he was involved in the hiring of this company? And Sarah Sanders said, yes, President Trump asked Ryan Zinke if he was involved in any way with the hiring of this company, Whitefish, by Puerto Rico. And Ryan Zinke said, no, I was not at all involved with the hiring of this company by Puerto Rico. I was a bit surprised because I thought Sarah Sanders might say, well, I don't know what they said in the meeting, but she really did come out and say that. I wonder if that reporter had talked to Sarah Sanders about it before, or if the reporter just got lucky and got an answer to a question that sometimes that reporter might not have gotten a more that kind of specific an answer to that question, an informative answer. So, anyways. I noticed that there were whitefish questions in this briefing. But I've been going on too long. I want to hear what you thought about the briefing. Write to me at @Lookner on Twitter, @Lookner. Also, be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and click the notifications bell to know when we're coming on with the air with breaking news updates. We already did an update this morning, a live stream on the situation in Catalonia. It's getting more and more tense there, so we're going to keep an eye on that. We might be doing breaking news this weekend about that. So subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at Right Side Broadcasting, and on Twitter you can follow us at RSB Network. Thank you to the moderators. Thank you to the moderators, by the way, for moderating the chat room both on YouTube. I think maybe I already said this. I don't even know what I said. Anyways, thanks again to the moderators for moderating the chat on YouTube and on the website. Let me see if any of you have written in yet to me about this press briefing. Andrew Sova said, I swore I heard a baby at the press briefing. Did you? I did not, but that doesn't mean there wasn't one, because I'm sort of, during the briefing, kind of taking notes here and doing stuff, getting prepared for the post show. So Sarah Sanders did say I think she said there were children there because they're having some event for children after the press briefing. I don't know if the children were in the room, although maybe the baby was like, there was a baby just outside the room and you could hear it through the wall or something. There's that door there that leads into the room. Don't know, Andrew. I'm checking your messages to see. Rare Pepe Merchant says, Acosta BTFO tried to ask Sarah a question about Trump's comment on Hillary-Russia collusion, got shut down. Yes, so I think this might have been one of those times, if I'm remembering right, where Sarah Sanders, she was really enforcing the one question rule. Now, I don't know if that's because it's Friday or because they had like a Halloween event after, maybe a little bit of both, but she just kept moving on from one question. There was no leeway today from the one question rule, so people only got to ask one question. Proud American says, it looks like little Jim Acosta will never learn. They need to put him in the back. Mr. Calloway says, I think that the press secretary handled that perfectly as always. The mainstream media have been asking some left field questions, but otherwise good. And we haven't seen the kind of tense argument exchange we used to see once in a while with Sean Spicer. So that definitely hasn't happened. We saw some very tense argument style moments with Sean Spicer and during the press briefing. So that has not happened under Sarah Sanders. No to the Mark writes in, watched briefing today from our WordPress account. Didn't know Sundance uses RSBN link. The connection was great. I'm so confused. What do you mean by Sundance uses RSBN link? Do you mean that like Sundance links to us? What is Sundance? The film festival? They linked? I'm so confused. No to the Mark. Please write back and give me more information on this so we can clarify here. Chest Harrington says, do you think Acosta could be more of an embarrassment to journalism if he was literally naked? So I cannot remember the specific Acosta question, and part of this is just because during the briefing, I'm usually listening to the briefing and taking notes and listening to like the questions and writing down, hey, oh, they asked about this is her response. And so sometimes I'm not focusing on who was asking the question, and as a result, like I can't remember specifically what. I remember hearing Acosta ask about something, but I can't remember what he was asking about. Was it the Hillary collusion thing or something like that? I don't know. So feel free to let me know. Sorry about that. Reagan Better says nothing from Spain about Sarah Huckabee Sanders. It's all been all tax cuts, talks, and bills. There was one question about Spain, and did I write down what she said about that? I can't remember. So much going on today. Sorry. Sometimes when there's like one question about thing, I forget. I don't literally write down the whole press briefing. I try to write down the things I think. If there's something particularly noteworthy, I put it in my notes. So. Badger Fool says they were in the room. Darth Vader was there. In the press briefing, is that what you're saying? I wonder if I can find it here. Now, it's a little hard to go back on this computer while I'm watching this. So anyways, feel free to send me a screenshot of it, Badger Fool, if you want to pull it up. See if there are any more comments here. So No to the Mark says Sundance is the last refuge who's a great blogger on WordPress. I see that the last refuge has a lot of Twitter followers. And you're saying the last refuge, you're saying what this person does on their blog is that they link to our broadcast? Is that what you're saying? They link to Conservative Treehouse. I see what they do. And does the Conservative Treehouse have our briefing? I see what's happening. So here, this is nice of them. I'll show you guys. So this person, Sundance, this popular blogger, links to the Conservative Treehouse. And if you go to the Conservative Treehouse, they're very nice to us there. They, I believe, link to, they post our stream. So, I mean that. So here's Conservative Treehouse. That's Conservative Treehouse, and they have the stream up, and if I play it, I think they were showing our stream. Oh, look, there I am. You're saying what? Oh, I don't want to hear me twice. Anyways, so thank you, Conservative Treehouse, for posting a link to us, and thank you to the blogger Sundance for posting that link too. All right, enough of me twice on the screen. My head's going to explode. Let's see if you have more comments here. Zhank says, how do you feel about reporters asking loaded questions just to make the administration look bad? Well, I've said this before. No matter who the president is, I don't like in a press briefing when a reporter asks a question that to me is not really designed to gain a response. It's more designed to put out a criticism. So I know last press briefing, I think I talked about this in the post show, where one of the questions came, there was an April Ryan question where I can't remember what the question was. Oh, something like something like, when is the White House, when are you going to finally start promoting unity? Now, and it was asked with that tone of voice, now if you ask a question like that, that's not going to get any kind of useful response. You're not going to get any useful new information from the press secretary. So all you're really doing is putting out your negative view about a situation. It's more of a criticism than a real question. And to me, there's only a limited amount of time for these press secretaries to answer these questions. I would rather the time be spent on genuine questions that are designed to elicit new information. That goes for no matter who's president. So that's my thought on that. And I have said that numerous times. What is this? So Vicky Tama wrote in and says, here, I'll show you. She wrote in about whitefish. Hold on one second here. Pull it up here. Vicky Thomas says, Steve, this is what Whitefish Energy is doing in Puerto Rico. My friend's son is in these pictures. They have flown in from all over the Pacific Northwest. So this is Whitefish Energy. And there's shots of, this is their Facebook page. And there are shots of them working in Puerto Rico. Now, just to be clear, I wasn't saying that Whitefish hasn't been working in Puerto Rico. They have been working in Puerto Rico, and they are trying to restore the electricity there. What I had said was, there are questions raised as to whether this was the best company to hire for this job. That's the question. And there's been some speculation that perhaps they were not the best company, and there were better companies that could have been chosen. It could be true that they're not the best company while they're still also working very hard and doing their best. So I did not mean to claim, I didn't claim, and I did not mean to imply that Whitefish is somehow like this company full of terrible people trying to swindle people. The question is whether they were the company that was best prepared to do this job. That's what the questions being raised are. Or at least that the questions that are important to me are being raised. And that I've seen in the articles I've tweeted out about, those were the questions there. So thank you for writing in though, Vicky, and sharing that. Becky Whitmer says, yes, some of the reporters had their children there. A couple of times the camera showed the reporters in the room and you could see the children. Thank you for clarifying that. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to take a few more of your comments here at Right Side Broadcasting. If you have comments on the press briefing, the White House press briefing, give me a shout. At Lookner on Twitter, at LOOKNER. Also, if you'd like to support us here at Right Side Broadcasting, I think we're the only post show that takes your comments that I'm aware of. I don't see, at least of the ones, the big post shows, well, certainly mainstream media post shows for the press briefing, I don't see them taking your comments. But we really enjoy hearing what you have to say. If you like our coverage, if you like this coverage, we hope you like our video on YouTube and share it on Facebook, because that really helps spread the word about Right Side. And also, we hope you consider donating, because we can't stay on the air without donations. That's how we stay on the air, is your support, your donations. So if you want to donate, you can go to the bottom of the YouTube chat, click on the $sign there, or go to rsbn.tv/donate, rsbn.tv/donate. And when you're at rsbn.tv/donate, one of the options you have is to set up a monthly donation and get free stuff in exchange, like this Right Side mug. So find out about that at rsbn.tv/donate. Oh, there's Darth Vader. Badgerful sent me a screenshot of the briefing. Assuming this wasn't Photoshopped, Badgerful. Let me show you guys. Badgerful says, there's Darth Vader. Did somebody really have that mask on the whole time? That's amazing. I'm so used to just listening to the briefings and not having my eye on the camera all the time. I missed that. Amazing. Thank you, Badgerful, for sending that in. I also want to just update you, for those who were watching the stream earlier today, about the situation in Catalonia, where Catalonia declared independence today, and now Spain is saying they're going to take over Catalonia and take over the government there. I just want to show you a couple developments there that happened in since the stream. So the Prime Minister of Spain, Rajoy, dissolved the Catalan parliament and announces elections December 21st. So Spain is saying, no more Catalan parliament. The Catalan parliament that's the parliament of that region and that voted for independence, Rajoy has dissolved it and says they're going to have new elections for the parliament. And now he also did say, Rajoy, he promised a peaceful and moderate answer to regain legal order and dissolve the threats to democracy. And BNL News said You can see here the police chief of Catalonia has been fired by the Spanish prime minister. So big question there as to whether right now there are thousands of people surrounding the parliament building, like protecting it there in Catalonia. So big question as to whether Spain's going to go in there and forcefully oust the leaders of the local leaders and take over the government there, take over the parliament building. We'll keep an eye on that for you. So subscribe to us on YouTube. Keep an eye on us if you want to know if we're going to do videos about that this weekend. If we'll come on if there's breaking news about that. Autumn gave a donation. Thank you, Autumn M. Gave $5. Thank you. And Autumn writes, what happened to the Skype seats? They still do that. That is a fantastic question, Autumn. They used to do Skype calls in the briefings and take like a reporter from like a local paper or a local TV station. They don't do that anymore. Now, they did it under Spicer. I have never seen them do it under Sarah Sanders. I wonder if that's something Spicer wanted to do. Also, one thing I did notice, and I don't know why this is, they seem to have a lot of technical difficulties with Skype questions. The audio would go out or there'd be a bit of a video issue. And I don't know why it was so hard to get it to work, but there were technical difficulties. So I don't know, though, why they stopped doing it. It's something they said they were going to do. Maybe they just figured it's more of a pain than it's worth. I don't know. It's a great question. I was trying to see, I was thinking, I'm glad my hand was in front of this picture. I thought it might be behind the picture. But that's a great question, Autumn. It'd be good if somebody there asked one of the people in the audience in the press room, in the press corps, asked about the Skype questions. But they probably don't want to ask, because then if they bring the Skype question back, that will be one fewer question for people in the room. So maybe there's a motivation for the press corps not to ask about it. Zhank says the faces of people around Darth Vader in that photo are priceless. I'll show that photo again. That Badger fool sent me. There it is. All right, let's see here. I think we have all your questions. I just want to go over a couple things that Sarah Sanders said in the briefing. Oh, I need 1 minute. Hold on, guys. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to leave you on my Twitter here. Guys, give me 30 seconds, okay? Hold on 1 second. The funny thing about that is I had to just go out and do that quickly. I'll explain what that was. But I didn't have anything to show you, so I put you on my Twitter page so you could see the Twitter. Well, at least you got to see Vice President Pence's tweets. But as many of you know, I moved, and I am right now in Atlanta in RSBN Studio B, the new home studio. But I am still we are still making some improvements here. And I just got a delivery of something that is going to be used in the studio. So a piece of equipment that I wanted to make sure I got so I could set it up. So that was why I had to run out and grab that thing. So sorry about that. We're just about at the point though where that won't happen anymore because all the stuff is almost here. Although I will say tomorrow, if there is a stream going on from 2 to 6, there's a new desk I might be getting. It's supposed to be delivered tomorrow between 2 and 6. So you might see me run out during the stream tomorrow afternoon if that gets delivered, because I have to go accept that delivery. So anyways, apologies for that. But we're almost at the point where everything is delivered. All right, let's see here. I think, though, I was just about to wrap up anyway. Oh, the last thing I was going to say is just a couple of things that Sarah Sanders said in the briefing today. She said President Trump will make his announcement on the Fed chair, the new Fed chair, next week. She said of the... Oh, S Blaster gave $10 while I was running out. Thank you, S Blaster. It says your background is jumpy, like it looks like you're on a ride. I find it very disorienting. You know, the background, it's weird. I know what you're saying. This background is, if you really focus on it, it's a little bit jumpy. But I wonder if it's more jumpy today than it normally is. I'll have to check on that. But it's a hard thing to find. We're constantly looking for backgrounds, and we like this background a lot, but I do find if you're not looking at the background specifically, you don't really notice it. So now maybe everybody's going to notice it now because they'll start focusing on it. But this has happened with other background smooth. It's very hard when you're looking for background files to use to find ones with continuous movement that aren't jumpy. We've spent a lot of time looking on this. And the last one, it's actually kind of a little bit, maybe you notice it a little less than the last one. Although this one today, I don't know, there might be some sort of issue. I'll have to look at the computer and see if there's an issue with the computer, because for all I know, there could be more going on today with this one. But anyways, so I apologize. I know it's not totally smooth, the background, but I do think it's the kind of thing where if you're not focusing on it, it does a pretty good job. So anyways, but your concern is duly noted, S Blaster. And we always are on the look for new backgrounds, but we do like this one. So, you know, that's one of these things. If we were a giant organization with millions of dollars, we would have our own graphics department and we would produce from scratch our own totally seamless, non-jumpy background. But it's actually, it's a whole thing to do that. So maybe one day we'll have the resources to do that. But your concern is noted, so thank you for writing in. And the problem is with the background. What was I going to say? Oh, a couple comments here. Somebody says it's turning the wrong way. It's an excellent point in that the Earth doesn't rotate that way. I don't really care though, because a couple things. First of all, it's not necessarily, it's like a moving background. It's not necessarily the Earth rotating. It's just like a background that moves. And somebody said, can you stop the movement? The problem is, if you stop moving a background, it feels very static. And so one thing we like having a little movement in the background. And initially this background actually moved faster, but it actually moved, and maybe when you move faster, you notice the jumpiness a little bit less, but when you move faster, it seems crazy fast. So, you know, we're always trying to figure out a better way to do this, but I kind of like this background. Again, though, I do understand that if you focus on it, you can notice some jumpiness, but I do think if you just focus on the broadcast, for me, that kind of goes away. But we're always taking your input, so we appreciate it. But trust me, if you just stop the background, it would look very, very lifeless back there. I'm just looking at your comments here. No, I can't change the direction. I do not have the ability. And again, we are not creating these. We don't have the resources to create our own graphics. It's a complicated thing to do. You'd have to we would have much more resources to do that. So we are at the mercy of what graphics are out there. We've spent an extensive amount of time looking for background graphics, and I can confidently say the two we've been using are the two best I've found. But are they perfect? No. But we'll always keep looking for more of them. So, but just know. But we can't reverse it. It's not that easy to do. Anyways, just to finish up here, let's see. Sarah Sanders said the president wants to see the Mueller investigation completed. She said any collusion with Russia was between Russia and Clinton and the DNC. She said that there was originally $45 billion in the opioid crisis in the bill to repeal Obamacare, and now the White House wants Congress to approve funding, and she said $45 billion is a good number for that funding. Okay, those were the things I wrote down as wanting to mention. Rocky Sanchez says, thanks for today's breaking news coverage and taking our post-show questions and comments. P.S. Don't forget to oil your chair. Thank you for reminding me. I do need, now it's actually seeming a little better now. It was before when I was doing this, it was like squeaking in the earlier one. So I have some oil here I can put on it. So I'll keep an eye on that. Fit to be Tied says, on Whitefish, I could be mistaken, but from what I understood from an article I read, only 2 companies, either total or 3 with Whitefish, I forgot, bid for the contract, and Whitefish was the only one that would do it without a lot of cash up front. At least I think that's what I read. Yeah, I read something like that too, though. But the problem was, what I read is there's normally a procedure that localities go through when something like this happens, where they consult with this group of people who do this kind of thing. And let me see if I can find you that story and just show you this. And they didn't consult with the group at all, and it kind of just seemed like they did it all on their own. So let me just see if I can call up this story here, and I can direct you to it, and you can check it out yourself. There's a very good one in the Economist too. Well, let's see here. Hold on, I'm scrolling through my Twitter feed so I can find the story for you. Here it is. Puerto Rico turns to Weather Channel. Puerto Rico turns to unproven Montana company for massive power restoration job, but no one knows why. So let me get down, if I see if I can find that part about consulting. Yes. See at the bottom here, it's a bit unclear why PREPA chose to go down that route, especially considering the offer was made to them for this mutual aid from the American Public Power Association that apparently wasn't taken advantage of, said Kathy Kunkel, an energy analyst with the Institute for Energy Economics and Financial Analysts. Where is the thing about the American Public Power Association? Hold on. Yeah, typically, here it is. Typically, immediately after a disaster, let me make this a little bigger, by the way, it's so small. Typically, immediately after a disaster, the American Public Power Association, a public utilities trade group, emcees a conference call with its membership, 1,100 public utilities across the country, to get all the needed line workers and bucket trucks to the stricken area as soon as possible under what are called mutual aid agreements. For instance, the Public Power Association facilitated the rapid deployment of many thousands of workers and their equipment to Texas and Florida after Hurricanes Harvey and Irma struck. But the Puerto Rico Electrical Power Authority took a different route after Maria's 155-mile-an-hour winds decimated the island's already failing electrical grid on September 20th, blah, blah, blah. When the Power Association convened its conference shortly after Maria struck, PREPA, the Puerto Rico Electrical Power Authority, told participants it wouldn't need the network's help because it had already contracted with Whitefish Energy Holdings, a 2-year-old consultancy, to spearhead the restoration of efforts. So they didn't go through this power association that's usually gone through and that helps get more workers to the places where they're needed. So that's an odd detail here. Anyways, you can read this at Weather Channel. That's an article about it. So that's the point I wanted to make. Thank you for asking about that so I could bring it up. Anyways, okay, I think, have I gotten to all your comments? Jenks, I see your Jenks wants us to link the background. I can't link it. It's a file. I'll ask Joe about it. He's the graphics guy and see what the deal is. I don't think it's an easy thing to do though. Anyways, I'll ask Joe about it. Joe knows lots about graphics. He's an expert. So, but for now, we're going to wrap up the broadcast right now. And yes. Let me just see if there's any more news that happened while we've been talking about this. No, I think we're good. Okay, well, thank you for joining us for the briefing and the post show. We will keep an eye on the news all weekend. If there is breaking news, we will come on the air and cover it. So be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and click the notifications bell so you know when we're coming on the air. Also, follow us on Facebook at Right Side Broadcasting, on Twitter at RSB Network. You can follow me on Twitter at Lookner, at Lookner. I will be posting breaking news even when we're not on the air. Excellent job by Joe producing today. Thank you, Joe. You can follow Joe, I think it's at Joe Seals. At Joe Seals. You can follow Joe there. Thank you for your donations. Very much appreciated. Those keep us on the air. So if you like our coverage, donate to us. Go to the bottom of the YouTube chat, click on the $sign at the bottom of the chat, or go to rsbn.tv/donate, rsbn.tv/donate. Thank you, everybody, for all the moderators. Barbara Braley, Guinevere, Real Frank, JC, Jude. Who else was there? Maybe others I missed earlier. Guinevere, and Glenn O and Common Sense on the website. Thank you all. Thank you for sending in your comments. Much appreciated. And your photos and everything else. And thank you all for watching Right Side. Most importantly, those, we appreciate you watching and enjoying our broadcast. Hopefully you enjoyed it. So for now, I am Steve Lookner. We're going to wrap this up. Hope you have a great rest of your day and a great weekend. And we very well might be seeing you this weekend with breaking news. So keep an eye out for Right Side. But for now, I am Steve Lookner, and I just want to say real quick, User 812, by the way, said, Steve, are you traveling anywhere anytime soon? I am going to be going to Boston for Thanksgiving, but I have my setup in Boston. I guess that could be RSBN Studio C in Boston, and I can go on. We can do our coverage from there, so don't worry about that. Thank you, Light Switch, by the way, and thank you everybody else saying thanks, and Dean, H, and JC. Now everybody's saying, see, right when I get off, everybody's saying thanks. Barbara, thank you. We'll give a couple of shout outs before we get off the air. Timberlab, thank you, Timberlab. Joshua Marks, thank you. All right, now we're going to wrap it up. This is Steve Lookner. This has been Right Side Broadcasting. We hope you have a great rest of your day and a great weekend. And we very well might see you soon. We'll be seeing you soon with news. So keep an eye out for us, and we'll come on the air again when there's breaking news of any type. So have a great one. See you soon.